Kidnapped as a boy and raised by outlaws, Peter Quill is by no means an ordinary human. So does he have what it takes to be the hero? He certainly thinks he does. Now, that belief will be tested as he faces the greatest challenge of his life: learning humility and how to work with others for the greater good. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Kabiga's Reviews once again, and these are my thoughts, my opinions, my feelings on Guardians of the Galaxy.
Directed by James Gunn and starring Chris Pratt as Peter Quill, Zoe Saldana as Gamora, Vin Diesel as Groot, Karen Gillan as Nebula, Dave Bautista as Drax, Bradley Cooper as Rocket, Michael Rooker as Yondu, Sean Gunn as Kraglin, and Lee Pace as Ronan, among others. Brash space adventurer Peter Quill finds himself the quarry of relentless bounty hunters after he steals an orb coveted by Ronan, a powerful villain. To evade Ronan, Quill is forced into an uneasy truce with 4 disparate misfits: gun-toting Rocket Raccoon, treelike-humanoid Groot, enigmatic Gamora, and the vengeance-driven Drax the Destroyer. But when he discovers the orb's true power and the cosmic threat it poses, Quill must rally his ragtag group to save the universe.
Now this, again, much like the Captain America the Winter Soldier that was released before it, is another tonal shift for the Marvel Cinematic Universe at this point. It's totally different and a big risk for Marvel because it's so different to anything that had gone before. This is almost like a comedy cartoon, basically, and they took a risk on some lesser known characters. These characters weren't what they are now at the time. So we've got Drax the Destroyer, Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, Gamora, who turns out is to be one of the daughters of Thanos. You've got Rocket Raccoon and Groot, and they're all the Guardians of the Galaxy. And I have to take my hat off and tip the hat and remind people that if it wasn't for Jar Jar Binks in The Phantom Menace, we wouldn't have Groot and Rocket, because Jar Jar was the first fully CGI interactive main character in a feature film, and he laid the groundwork. That CGI and that technique and that idea laid the groundwork that led us to Groot and Rocket, so, and beyond, obviously. So a great tip of the hat to George Lucas for that. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy was absolutely amazing. It's one of the few films, the few Marvel films that I've been to the cinema to see multiple times. And I think, if I remember correctly, because it was 2014 and I'm filming this in 2023, so it's nearly 10 years ago. But I think, if I remember correctly, I went to see this 4 times at the cinema. I only saw Endgame 2 or 3 times, but I saw this, I'm pretty sure it was 4 times. It was that good, and it is that good. And James Gunn's method of actually, and this is known, he creates his scenes and builds his story around his soundtrack. And that is what lends itself so greatly to making the music of Guardians of the Galaxy so integral and so well fitting for the story, because it enhances it and it absolutely sets the tone for the scenes. And they even played the music during the making of it, during those scenes, so that the actors would know what's being played. Also, the music is diegetic within the film, which means that the characters themselves can actually hear it. It's not just something we hear as a soundtrack, the characters can hear it, and there's a device, usually a radio, music, they go to a party, whatever it is, because this happens in a lot of films. But in this one, Peter Quill, it's usually from his little earphones that he can hear the music, and the characters can then hear the music, and it makes it feel more organic as well. As far as the action sequences go, amazing. I absolutely love, I'm a massive fan of science fiction and fantasy, and that's evidenced in Star Wars, Marvel, anything Star Trek. I love all that kind of thing because it's pure escapism, and this is one of the most shining examples of why I love it so much. James Gunn said it himself in one of the special features, this is not a superhero film. These guys are not superheroes. They're like aliens. This is a space fantasy film. So they need to step up and become heroes within the film, but it is not a superhero film. None of them have special powers or anything. So they just have great abilities. And because they're alien, they can have abilities that mere mortals, humans, wouldn't have. Like Groot can grow. You know, Gamora and Drax both have super strength and speed and all that sort of thing. Rocket himself is hyper intelligent. Bit excited about this. Put my teeth back in. So yeah, hyper intelligent. He's very, 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 very clever, and he's certainly the smartest guy in the room in this sense. So yeah, all the characters are brilliant. The film is absolutely what word can I use that I haven't used already? It's amazing. I absolutely love this film. I'm going to score this film very high indeed when I get to the score at the end of it. But the comedy is there. The space opera is there. There's a love story there. There's a really great character arc, because Peter Quill starts the beginning of the film as a goofball, an absolute idiot. He was kidnapped from Earth when he was a kid, and he was raised by Ravagers, and he's never really had decent father figures. He's never really had that kind of decent role models. His best role model is Yondu, the leader of the Ravagers. When we get to Guardians 2, you'll see how that relationship pans out. But in this case, he's not a great role model at all. He's basically the leader of some, criminals. And he even admits that he says that he kept Peter around because he was great for getting into small spaces when they were committing their crimes, stealing and burglaring and whatever else that the Ravagers get up to. So he's an arrogant idiot at the beginning, and he shows off, and he's got some very childish qualities about him, about bragging and all that sort of thing. Talks about footloose and all that. So he's basically, I reckon, from a psychological and emotional point of view, he's never actually grown up from when he was a kid. And I think that shows, because the trauma of him being kidnapped and the death of his mother right at the beginning of the film, he never got over that. And I don't think he ever moved on and ever grew up from that. And it shows in his character, because he is very childish. Even his humour is very childish. But that's part of his charm. That's why we love Peter Quill, Star-Lord, because he is so charming. And Chris Pratt even is so charismatic in the part. It's brilliant. And then Gamora, you got Zoe Saldana, and is there any franchise this woman can't be in? I believe, and you can Google this, I believe she is quite possibly the highest earning actress on the planet. And the reason I say that is because she has been in Star Trek, Avatar, and Guardians of the Galaxy. She was in 2 of the highest grossing movies of all time, Avatar and Avengers Endgame. So in just box office numbers, this woman can do no wrong. And she's brilliant as Gamora. And no spoilers, no, don't go there, Kabika. So yeah, I'm not going to say another word about that, about what I was going to say. But yeah, Gamora, she goes from being a hard ass to actually feeling something and feeling part of a family within this film, as does Groot, Rocket and Drax. That's part of what the charm of this film is. It is so much fun, it's funny, it's action packed, it looks amazing, and it sets up so much going forward for the rest of the MCU. So yeah, absolutely brilliant film, Guardians of the Galaxy. So the 4K disc, and that's the whole point of me doing these reviews at this point, is really, really amazing. Now, let's go back to the Winter Soldier that I reviewed recently. 4K is basically, it's 4 times the definition of an HD picture. So you get much more detail. And in something like the Winter Soldier, you get deeper darks, you get the colors pop, the skin tones are great, the action sequences look great, but I really didn't feel that it would be that much more than what you would get on a Blu-ray disc. I think the Blu-ray would be equally as good. On the other hand, this is a whole different kettle of fish. I genuinely believe, and I feel, and it is only my opinion, that if you're going to watch something in 4K, that really you want to have something to look at. And this is stunning to look at. The colors are so vibrant, the darks are dark, the brights are bright, the skin tones are all amazing, and the vistas of the Nebula and the Guardians, and the galaxy that they fly through, particularly like places like Nowhere, and then also the details on Groot and Rocket themselves absolutely pop because of the higher definition. It just looks so much better. And there's a particular little scene that when I've watched it previously, it's during the escape from the kiln, where it's obvious CGI for Gamora because she's jumping around and she's fighting the guards and whatnot. It felt a little clunky when I've watched it previously, but on this it just flowed and looked a lot more organic. I don't know why that would be. I can't imagine they would have changed that particular bit of CGI, but I think the higher definition just allowed for a lot more fluidity in her movements, and it just looked so much greater. Also the 4K disc, because there's so much more space on the disc for things like picture and sound, you get a much better soundscape, and the 4K sound, the HD sound that it gave me, which I believe is DTS sound, just was amazing. It just went all around me, surrounded me, filled the room, and it was really, really, really great fun. And I've watched the special features on this, which appear on the Blu-ray, but that's okay. And they're really good as well. I really enjoyed watching the making of and the interviews, and there's a great little one where it's almost like a little 80s computer game, and it shows James Gunn taking you through different points of how he made the film, and that's really interesting. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 4K. Now here's to the score that I mentioned earlier. I'm going to score this pretty high. I'm going to score this 12 out of 10. Why not? And that's because I can. I absolutely love Guardians of the Galaxy. As I said earlier, I went to see this 3 or 4 times at the cinema. I think it was 4, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And I tell you what, this is definitely my top 10 MCU movies up there, because you'd be hard pressed to find anything better. All right, so Guardians of the Galaxy 4K, buy the disc. This is definitely one to have on disc if you haven't already got it. 12 out of 10 is my score. What do you think? Do you enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy? What did you think of the sequels? We will get to them obviously a bit later, but what did you think? And what do you think of the artwork on this? Yeah? Any good? What do you think of the soundtrack? Could it be better? What would you have chosen as the soundtrack? There's an interesting question. Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to smash that subscribe button, hit the like button, and share this video. And I will see you on the next one.
Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, drop us a like and subscribe to see all future content.